Hi everyone, I'm here today to talk about feelings and how I introduce them with my students. I have a special guest with me today. This is Addie, my Welsh Terrier. As you can see, I am sick on the couch, and that's kind of what prompted this post. And so I just wanted to share one of the quick, easy ways that I introduce feelings words with my students with complex communication needs. So, as you can see, this book gets used a lot. It's actually ripped and needs to be put in a new folder, but it's really low tech and was really simple to make. I just have it titled How Do I Feel? And in here I have a couple pages of different pictures and short sentences that describe feeling words. And then I have the picture symbol to go along with the emotion or physical state. So I refer to like pain, being injured, being tired as kind of a physical state. I think sometimes it can be unclear what I'm referring to, like in a goal or something, if I'm just saying feelings. So I like to kind of separate them. That way it makes it clear to everybody on the team what it is that I'm targeting. So this story has a couple of each. And so what I like to do with this particular book is I might have a child with a communication device or a low-tech manual board. So I'm going to model what I would do for a student who uses this particular board. And so on here, this is the Print-Ceramic Unity system. And so I have a student who uses the accent device, and so I've printed this out for myself to model while we're working together or while I'm in his classroom. And so I'm just going to show you up close. I know there might be a glare, but on here you can see that for feelings it is this kind of mask here, kind of like those theater masks. And what happens when you press feel is in this row up here, several feelings come up, and several like quick feelings come up, really simple ones, and then there is a purple button that has additional feelings. So sometimes the one that we need will be right at the top row, and other times the student will have to navigate to that category. So what I would have out in front of me would be the story, his device, my manual board, and then sometimes I'll have the pictures from the story on their own Velcro strip or board if I'm working on having the student find the picture or fill in the sentence. So it definitely depends on what the child's working on, but for this particular example, I'm just going to go through and show you the pages and what it might look like. So I'll also be modeling other core words while I'm reading the story, so I like to work on turn for turn the page. I like to comment on the pictures whenever possible. I don't love this picture that I chose for hungry, and I've since updated it just because I feel like it's a little bit misleading because he looks a little bit hangry to me. He looks like he's having a rough time, so I don't want to be misleading, so I've chosen a different picture that's a little bit more clear. So if I just continue, I have hurt, where you can see the child has fallen off of his bike. I have tired. So each of the sentences kind of just describes the feeling word. So for example, it says, I want to close my eyes, I want to go to bed, and I'll often have the picture separate, and it will say, I feel, and then the child can fill in the sentence. I feel tired. Um, So a lot of times when I'm doing this book with a student, I'm just modeling it. I'm doing this as a activity that will go along with a game or some other thing that we're going to do in the classroom or in the individual session. And then I also have it printed out here. This actually shows the new hungry picture. And so then the child can work on this again later, or sometimes we'll do cut and paste just to engage other sensory aspects like tactile things. So it really depends on the particular child, but I do find that working on feelings can be so productive because if the child can't express the way that they feel, then that can really lead to some challenging behaviors and just some misunderstanding. But I definitely like to honor my students' feelings and just different things that they might be experiencing, and I never want to dismiss that. And I think this week being so sick and just having to do things that I didn't want to do. When you're sick, it's just like, I mean, at least for me, everything just feels like a chore. And I just want to keep that on my mind when I'm working with students who might not be able to tell me, you know what, I'm really not in a good mood today. So I kind of feel like this year I want to sort of model that more for my staff and teachers and things like that, just so that way I'm a good role model of kind of being informed on what the child might be going through, because I think that's so important. This printed out book actually has some additional feelings, so I've since updated my original copy, but I want to show you some other examples from in here. So here we have one that talks about being confused. And so it says, I'm confused. I don't know how to do something. And then the sentence says, I need help. So I would have the picture symbol for help. And I just have a child who looks a little bit confused. This one is definitely more abstract, and I find that it's definitely not the easiest way to teach help. But for a child who already asks for help, I think it's really kind of a next step for them to say, oh, if I'm confused, I can ask for help too. It's not just if I can't do something, it's also if I don't understand something or I missed out on a direction or something. So I think that for a child who already has the basic understanding of help, this can be a good thing to target next. Like all the different times we might need help. It goes beyond just not being able to open something and needing somebody's assistance. So I like to target that with some of my students who have more of a grasp. And then I also have some emotions in here or physical states of like temperature, because I find that if I'm really hot or really cold, I can't focus. So I often, our office is frigid cold. In summer, it's freezing. In the winter, the heat's blasting. So it's never just comfortable. So that kind of prompted me to add this to my story, because a lot of times I'd have students come to my office and I can see that they're shivering, and, kind of sparked an idea for me to teach those students that, you know what, if you're cold, you can tell me, and we have sweaters or blankets, or we can take a walk into the hallway, just different ways that we can address that feeling that might make it easier to focus. So I am a firm believer that if a child's needs aren't met or their feelings aren't addressed, that everything else can, be affected and is difficult. So it's definitely something that I like to keep in mind. And some of the games that I mentioned in this post, like Howie's Owies and Hungry Hippos, are really fun ways to expose our students to the word for the different feelings. So with Hungry Hippos, I might read my feeling story, and then I might say, we're focusing on being hungry, and we might do like a snack activity where the children can express that they're hungry. But playing Hungry Hippos is a really fun way to do it, because we could talk about how the hippos are hungry and how they're eating the apples and different things like that, where that game kind of creates an environment to learn that word that's fun and engaging and noisy and just chaotic. And I think a lot of kids really like that. And then Howie's Owies, if you haven't seen it, it is a big magnetic board, and it's a boy. I think he's on the beach, if I'm not mistaken. And it comes with a bunch of different size band-aids, and they're all different colors and sizes. And you can practice labeling body parts, putting band-aids on body parts. I like to model that Howie's hurt, that he might say, I'm hurt, or my belly hurts. I might put the band-aid on a certain body part and model for the student what Howie would say So there's so many different things you can do with that game. You can also work on prepositions and colors and a lot of different basic concepts, but it's definitely a great way to talk about pain or injury or discomfort. So I like that game.